So today I wanted to talk about PODs or print on demand because I got a lot of questions last week about it because that is a service that I tried using with my business that failed, Lion and Friends. I experimented with it, and today I wanted to talk about what it is, first of all, the pros and cons, and when I would and would not recommend using a POD service. So POD stands for print on demand, which literally means that your products are printed or made on demand when a customer orders it. So that means if your business is all print on demand or primarily print on demand, that means that you do not have to hold any inventory and things are only made and shipped to customers when they purchase. With my second experimental business, Lion and Friends, that is no longer alive, I did experiment a lot with print on demand. I was very fascinated by it because I actually didn't know that this was a thing, and I was able to kind of explore the biggest print on demand services and was able to kind of work their back end, feel their products and samples, and I now know quite a bit about the back end of how POD works. Print on demand is really cool and really, really easy because after you connect the products with your shop, whether it's on Shopify or Etsy or any other selling site with the back end of the print on demand, you actually don't have to do anything when a customer orders something from you. They order from you, and then that back end of your store sends it to the print on demand system, POD, and they will ship it out for you, update the tracking, and it's just super seamless. You almost don't even have to touch it. It just automatically goes. That was how I was able to have 300 something variants in my store because I did not have to hold all these crazy sizes and colors and options for hats and mugs and sweaters and shirts, etc. Like any small business decision, there's no wrong or right answer, but there's pros and cons for everything. And I want to go over the pros and cons of what I believe print on demand has to offer. So the biggest, most obvious pro about print on demand is that you don't have to hold inventory. Print on demand is a little bit different from traditional businesses like mine who hold inventory in their warehouses, in their studio space, whatever, right? I guess it kind of depends on where you are if this is the biggest pro, right? But if you're like me and you're in an area where you don't have a lot of space or it's expensive to have space, that is a huge, huge, huge plus. It saves you a lot of time to not have to sort through inventory, to not have to pre-order and hold inventory and count and do quality checking, etc. Because you have no inventory, that also means you have no risk. So this is a similar reason to why I tell people to start on Etsy and not on your own website, right? You don't spend virtually any money unless you make a sale. When you have and hold inventory or even materials to make your own products in your own warehouse or studio, you have to put upfront costs to have that inventory come to you. But if you're working with a print on demand service, that means you don't spend any money unless somebody buys something from you, and then you spend money to make it. But hopefully you're making a profit out of that, so it's very, very low risk. And just like there's no risk, there's also no boundaries and limits to what kind of products you can try. The really cool thing about print on demand is that you can use all these different print on demand services, and you can kind of pick and choose what you want to try from different companies, right? So for my Lion and Friends, I was primarily using Printful, but there was things like Printify, there was things like Spud, something like that, where they had different types of products that I was like, wow, this is really cool. I can make a pillow if I want to. I can make a blanket if I want to. And it was really cool to experiment with a different wide variety of a catalog of products that had no order minimums, right? I could literally order one or two instead of the hundreds that I have to order when I make my inventory. Okay, so let's talk about the cons because I think there are a lot of cons, and this is why I ended up not trying my print on demand as my main business model. With print on demand services, you make little to no margin. So I will give you the example of a embroidered hat, which I sold both on my Lion and Friends website as a print on demand service and for a jar of pickles currently on my website that I hold inventory for. A hat from a print on demand service like Printful, which is what I was using for Lion and Friends, costs $18 to make an embroidered hat, plus an additional $5 to even set up that embroidery for you, which is pretty typical if you're gonna do embroidery, but that does cost initially upfront. So that's $18 plus $5 for the first hat, plus a $4.99 shipping cost. So 18 plus 5 is 23, plus another 5 is 28. So that's $28 to ship your first embroidered hat to a customer. I was selling my hats on Lion and Friends for, I think it was $31. I did not like charging $31 for an embroidered hat. I thought it was a little ridiculous. Plus, even though I profited those $3, I wasn't even counting operational costs, right? I wasn't counting how much I was paying for my website or paying for, I don't know, my influencer marketing or whatever, right? That $3 shrank even more when you calculated those things in. When you are doing print on demand, you will expect to make very, very low profit because you're almost paying for not having any risk. Even though print on demand gives you very low stress because, like I mentioned, if a customer orders from you, you don't even have to do anything. On your back end, it just sends the order to your fulfillment center, and the fulfillment center directly sends the order to the customer, right? However, that also means you have no control over your own order, your own branding materials, even quality checking, right? So your customer literally gets this package that you've never seen, you've never touched before. And a very, very common problem in print on demand is that a lot of times a customer will open open the package and actually get an item that they didn't order, not even from your store. It's like they ordered a t-shirt with a cute dog on it and they get a t-shirt with like, I don't know, a graphic interpretation of something that I don't know, is unpleasant, or I don't know, just like really random, right? That happens quite often with print on demand, and that's something that I learned while I was experimenting with it. If that happens, the print on demand, of course, will always say sorry and just send out a free new order with the thing they were actually supposed to send, right? But it's just not a good customer experience. Along with that, I really didn't like that I wasn't able to put my branded items in there, or if I wanted to, print on demand can do it for you, but it's very, very expensive. And I just didn't like that I couldn't really touch each of the packages going out to my customers. For me, building a brand is a lot about the experience the customers have and just like your personal connection with it. It just felt very impersonal to me, right? Like I really like that I have products, even though they're everywhere in my house, in my garage, studio, whatever, right? I like seeing them, I like touching them. I really like the manual labor that it goes with packaging them. I just feel like there's more heart and soul into the business and the product than using a print on demand service. I think for me personally, it was a lot easier to market something that I personally also touched and made as well, right? I might not like hand make each of my products out of jar of pickles, but because each of those items come through my studio, handpicked by my studio assistant who I trained, right? Like, and I know, it just feels like there's a lot more of a brand story to it. There's a lot more connection when I'm trying to market my product than when I was just marketing my print on demand products, right? Print on demand just feels less like a brand play and more like a, I'm trying to find a word. It feels more like a transactional, businessy type of play, which like, I don't know, these are probably not the right words to use, but hopefully you kind of know what I mean, right? It's just a lot easier for me to market products that I see and I can feel and touch and understand, I guess. With all those negatives, I still do think that print on demand does have a lot of benefits and could be right for you under certain circumstances. And these are kind of the scenarios in which I personally think that it might make sense. Start on a print on demand business service if you want the lowest possible risk of starting a business. If holding inventory, even 25 units, 10 units sounds really nerve-wracking to you, print on demand is a great way to go. Like I mentioned, there's no inventory, which means there's no cost, there's no risk, right? And you're only spending money when you're selling. So if you're like, I just want to try this, I'm really nervous to spend any money, I'm really nervous if like I decide to close my business and I have like 50 SKUs left and I don't even know how I'm going to clearance it because I don't have a customer or audience base, right? Print on demand is a great way to go. This can almost show you like proof of concept or something that you're trying before you order like 10 or 20 or hundreds and then you try it and you're like, oh my God, actually nobody wants this and I'm left with all these things that I unfortunately have to throw away or just figure out how to get rid of, right? So try it if you're very, very unsure of what you're doing and you really don't want to risk any money and any waste. Print on demand also might work for you if you have literally no desire to scale. As you are making products, you will start to notice that things get cheaper if you buy in more and more bulk, right? Even if you're buying raw materials to make stuff or you're buying ready-made inventory like I do. It gets cheaper the more you buy, right? So as my customers base buys, I get to buy more because I know it's gonna sell. I know it's gonna go. But if you have no desire to scale and you're just doing this purely for fun, you're like, I don't care how many orders I get. I don't like want to grow bigger. I just want to make things with my art. And if somebody wants to buy it, great. But I don't want to like hold things. I don't want to organize things. I don't have any desire to like sell 10 next week if I'm selling 1 this week or to sell 100 next year, etc. If you have no desire to scale, print on demand is something that you might want to consider. The other thing print on demand is really, really, really good for is customization. So if you are in a business that is customizable, right? There's a lot of like, I get a lot of ads right now about like customized baby things because it's like special, like it's just, I don't know, it's like your baby's footprints or your baby's handprints or your baby's like star sign, I don't know, right? Those are really, really good print on demand services because only one customer is gonna need one thing, right? So you can just one-off and buy one for that one customer. You don't have to hold inventory because it's all customizable individually to individual customers. Print-on-demand services are actually might be really useful to you if your product is something that ad spend will work on and is able to convert. So I'm trying to figure out how to explain this, and I think with the small businesses that I kind of coach and talk to and in my space, I really think that there are like almost 2 kinds of businesses. One kind of business is like really building a brand. There's like a story behind it, there's a person behind it, you know why they're doing it, you know like their purpose, their motivation, you know like their face, I don't know, all these things, right? There's another kind of business, you saw it in a Facebook advertisement, it would stop you and it makes for like a very special, unique, individualized gift. That would probably convert better on a Facebook ad than, for example, my brand. My brand does not convert very well on Facebook ads because the thing that sells for me is me and like my behind the scenes, etc., which is very hard to get across in a Facebook ad. So what I have noticed about print-on-demand businesses that do very, very well is this very like unique art concept or this very unique like style or something that would convert if you have the right target audience, right? I really think that my designs are actually really not that unique. They're very simple and they're very like branded towards me. But again, I'm the person that sells it and I'm the reason why it sells it. Like mine is a very personal brand versus something that and is able to gain customers more through like a paid channel than for me, like more of organic channels, I guess. That was kind of long-winded and I hope that kind of explains it well, but that's something that I've noticed about print-on-demand businesses that do work well. I'm really happy that I experimented with print-on-demand for Lion & Friends. It was definitely something that I was super curious about and super fascinated about, but in the end, I feel like for me and the way that I run businesses, I personally do not think it is worth it. I think it's just too hard to find a story and be really marketable with print-on-demand products just because of the nature of the business model that you have. And I always talk about how I'm like super low risk, I didn't want to risk any money, but with print-on-demand, like, it wasn't even that I was risking no money. It was like I was making no money. Even at my highest peak when I was selling like quite a bit, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making like no profit, right? If I wanted to make a decent profit off print on demand, I'd have to scale to like an insane degree to make the kind of profit that I do off a jar of pickles. And I just didn't really like the business model that print on demand was kind of offering. I just decided that ultimately it was not worth it. Seems like there's like very popular best print on demand businesses to start on Etsy, make easy money with print on demand. And just like most of the clickbaity things, like this is not true. It takes a lot of work. Like please try print on demand. Again, it's very low risk to you, but I'm gonna guess what you will find is that it's a lot of work to make $3 off of one hat, right? And it's a lot of work to convince a customer to spend $31 to make those $3 off a hat, right? In my opinion, the best bet is to work on your personal brand, right? Try and attract customers that aren't just one-time customers, that will really follow you and your brand journey and be there for you when you are launching new products so that you can buy more and more inventory and still feel risk-free. When you receive boxes and boxes of inventory, you will be confident enough to know that you will be able to sell it. Let me know if you've tried print on demand or any thoughts or questions that you have on it. This is definitely a topic that kind of surprised me that people were interested in, but I'm happy to share more if you are more interested. Send me a comment below or send me a DM on Instagram or email me at hello@jarofpickles.com. I love connecting and we'll see you next week.